recording of the new commissioner of Social Security that was released. And so we're going to talk about that today. And there is some good things, some bad things, some kind of disturbing things. I think the most important thing in what a lot of people aren't talking about on this kind of secretly recorded video is what he didn't say, which is actually kind of good. I'm glad he didn't repeat some of the misinformation and lies and untruths that have been repeated recently. So that is a good thing. So it was a 90-minute address to Social Security employees, and he kind of joked around and he says, I'm sure this is going to be released. This is, supposed to be an internal. I'm sure somebody's going to release it and stuff. So at least he seems like he has a sense of humor, and a sense of humor is always a beautiful thing. All right, so we're going to talk about this today, and this is also a live Q&A. Looks like I've got a bunch of questions already, and we're going to I'll talk about the new commissioner and his plan for the agency, his plan for your Social Security benefits, his plan to get you the assistance you need. One thing that a lot of people are talking about, Jeff mentioned this as well. This is a live. Just got a comment here. A lot of other places are playing the recording, and they said, yeah, the guy sounds a little tipsy and like he's mumbling or something. He was the same way during his confirmation hearings. I'm just, maybe that's just the way he talks. So hopefully he's not intoxicated. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. That's how. That's how he just talks, I guess. But yeah, he did. He said, when he was first offered the job, he says, well, number one, I wasn't looking for a job. Well, that's a nice and beautiful thing, right? But he says, I didn't know what the Social Security Commissioner was. I had to Google it. He says, yeah, I'm one of the best Googlers on the East Coast. I'm known for my Googling. So I had to Google what the heck is a Social Security Commissioner? And you'd like to have someone go, be the Social Security Commissioner that affects 70 plus million Americans out there on Social Security benefits. But the previous commissioners that I've all met personally, because they all came to my office, they were in Social Security. They were former employees of Social Security. The recent acting commissioner was an employee that was about to get terminated. He realized he was about to get terminated because he was doing things he wasn't supposed to. And then he became the commissioner, the acting commissioner. Anyway, but before that, there were commissioners, and they kind of worked in that kind of circle. So they knew what the Social Security Commissioner was. Having someone completely from the outside, it's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of my viewers, and I kind of hesitate in the fact that he's a Wall Street guy, worked for J.P. Morgan Chase. And, the Wall Street has been chomping at the bit to get a hold of the $2.6 trillion of the Social Security Trust Fund. So hopefully he is not in there to get his hands on that for Wall Street billionaires. But he also has a background in kind of efficiency and all that. So hopefully he doesn't wear his Wall Street, we want that money hat. Hopefully he wears his, hey, we need to make things more efficient. So hopefully, yes, that is what he is going to do. All right, so let's talk about what he said. And again, I think the important thing is some of the things he didn't say, but let's talk about what he says. One of the things he says is the level of staffing, that he expects no mass layoffs. Well, sorry, I hate to break the news to you there, guy. The layoffs have already happened. Thousands of people were pushed out of the agency, voluntold, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, to leave the premises. To say that, hey, we don't expect these mass layoffs and, terminations and getting people out of the agency, reducing the workforce and stuff like that, it's because it's already done. It was already done by the acting commissioner before you got there. So, I think that's kind of a bit disingenuous. And he says he's going to call on DOGE to drive Social Security to be a digital first agency. He wants Social Security to lead all agencies in the government to become a digital first agency. And he's depending on DOGE to do that. People have said, including myself from the beginning, DOGE, okay, these are tech wizards, whatever the case may be. That's fine. Social Security has always had, hired outside companies to go in there and help with, kind of computer systems and all the rest of it, but they need to be vetted. They need to get their FBI checks, just like me and every other Social Security employee that ever worked there. They need to get all that. They need to, they can't take their own laptops in there and do stuff. They have to be given, secure laptops by the agency and stuff. That was the type of things that we don't know 100% for sure whether that's been done or whether these, young kids on the DOGE team, some of them, yes, are young kids. I can say that being an old guy. We're not sure, whether they're still walking around out there with their, their own little computers with their anime stickers on them with all of our information. So that definitely needs to be addressed. And we're not exactly sure whether it is because they're kind of hiding that information. So, but if DOGE wants to, if they vet these people and they give them correct clearances and correct security, then if they can go in there and, improve things, that's one thing. Again, he says in terms of RIF, reduction in force, he says, if I wake up and find out we can do all our work with 20,000 employees, then we'll be 20,000 employees. If we need 80,000 employees, then we'll be 80,000 employees. Social Security is at the 50, well, even before DOGE came in, they were at a 50-year low in terms of staffing. Now it's even worse because thousands of people have left the agency or are about to leave the agency here in September. Well, actually, they left the agency, but they're still being paid until September. So that's the deal they made with thousands of people. So yeah, the staffing levels, we have to remember, this is not something that can be done 100% virtually. There are over 1,200 offices throughout the country, and sometimes people need to go see a human being. So if you have 1,200 offices and you only got 20,000 people, that's just not going to work logistically because people need Social Security offices in their particular towns to go down there and get checks and show their documents and all the rest of it. He also mentioned that we're never going to be a client first if we're not digital first in this area. That's the only way we're going to win. You're competing with experiences that people have with Amazon. If I can get something done at Amazon, why can't I get something done the same way at Social Security? Well, ordering a barbecue on Amazon is different than getting survivor benefits from a deceased loved one or filing for disability benefits or filing for retirement benefits or dealing with overpayments. I think that's perhaps a bad comparison, a simplistic comparison. One thing they've also already instituted was this phone artificial intelligence. And there's some newscasters out there that have called the AI, called the 800 number, and AI answered. And it's kind of how AI is pretty more these phone hell, press for this and press this, and you go around and around and around and nothing really happens. So artificial intelligence, they've already instituted it to some degree on the Social Security phones, and yeah, not impressed so far. And he says the reason we get so many phone calls is because half the people have to call twice. I agree. In every single office, the office I ran, we used to get reports. My office, when we had okay staffing, we were always low, but we used to answer about 98% of our calls the first time. But offices used to get reports. Social Security says one thing they get is a lot of reports, the district managers that run offices, and they get reports and says, hey, this person came into your office twice, 3 times. Why does this person have to come back the second time? Why does this, the same phone number have to call 2 or 3 times? You're getting these same people call it in. So yeah, Social Security is known for a long time that, people are calling twice, and it kind of slows down everything. Reduces stats. And so, yeah, that is a good thing to address that and answer the phone the first time. Here's kind of one of the disturbing things that I didn't think that was a great. He says, do you think those people are happy waiting 230 days, 270 days? There's a ton of things that AI can apply to move it along faster. Okay. No, people are not happy having to wait for their disability claims for years. People are not having to wait for their survivor claims and, Medicare claims and all that. Have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for this to happen. So why did you fire all those people? Why? I mean, I've never ran a billion-dollar organization. Well, actually, I did. Social Security was multi-billion dollars that went in and out. So I guess that's a lie. I did run a multi-billion-dollar organization, but um, so these Wall Street guys, he's efficiency. In my book, if you're going to improve customer service, and you say, okay, in order to improve customer service, we're going to bring in a bunch of AI and a bunch of digital type stuff. And until we get that online, let's not fire a whole bunch of people and get them out of the agency and reduce people's ability to get their assistance they need, the assistance they paid for from Social Security. So you do that opposite, or they did it, as we say in the Marine Corps, bass backwards. They let everybody go and they say, oh, we'll fix it later. No, you fix it now. You put in your AI, you put in your new digital thing, you update the website, whatever the case may be. And then once customer service gets great, awesome, then if you don't need those employees anymore, then you let go of those employees. Why did you do it the opposite way? Why did you, let go of all these employees, and people are having a hard time getting the retirement survivor benefits? You can't get into the phone now. People are having to wait weeks and months to get stuff done. That makes no sense whatsoever. And you recognize, do you think those people are happy? No, they're not happy. Then why did you do it that way? Come on. Sorry. I'm going off on a tangent there. Anyway, he says, I've always believed in, if you automate over here, well, you're going to find jobs for people over somewhere else. The best thing that could happen is we answer the phone in 1 minute, a lot of it through technology. Okay, perfect. Yes, there is DOGE went in and talked about fraud, waste, and abuse. They didn't find any. Zero fraud, waste, and abuse found because they were looking in all the wrong places. I'll get to that in a minute. But is there fraud, waste, and abuse at Social Security? Absolutely. And Social Security employees find that fraud, waste, and abuse every single day. CDRs, work CDRs, reports of people working when they're, so all of those things that Social Security employees, they are the ones that find fraud, waste, and abuse every day. But if they're barely keeping above water, they're not able to find that. So yes, if you automate a lot of things, then those Social Security employees can go after the actual fraud, waste, and abuse and all the rest of it. So yes, please. We definitely need to do that to save the agency. Okay, to save the trust fund. Okay, so those are the things that he actually said. What didn't he say, which I think is a good thing? One of the things he didn't repeat, again, this is a 90-minute address, so he went off kind of all over the place, and so he kind of gave his philosophy. But one of the things he didn't say was he repeated the lies, the misinformation, the 100% incorrect information that DOGE, Elon Musk, and them repeated was, okay, the reason Social Security is having a hard time is because they're giving out checks to 20 million people that are over 120 years old. He didn't say that because it's not true. That's good. I said, for the regular viewers know this, when Elon Musk and the president and the vice president said this, I said, no, that's not true. Even the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration at the time, a DOGE guy, said, no, that's not true. But they kept repeating it for political reasons. And it's not true. They were looking at a completely different database, a database that does not pay money. Zero money comes out of the database they were looking at. Zero. Never. There's never been a penny that comes out of the database. I always compare it to, if you go to a restaurant and you're going to the register to pay, and they say, put your credit card in the slot, and you pull out your driver's license, and you're trying to put that in the slot to try to pay for your meal. That's kind of what DOGE was trying to do. They were trying to use a driver's license to pay for their meal. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't look at that database and think you're going to save money, because there's no money in that database. So, okay, so he didn't repeat that falsehood. That's good. He didn't repeat the other DOGE falsehood that says 40% of calls coming into Social Security are fraud. Social Security never said that. There's one DOGE guy that said that, and then the vice president and a bunch of other people repeated it. No, that's incorrect. 40% of direct deposit fraud, attempted fraud, does happen over the phone, but that doesn't mean 40% of all total calls. So that's completely added. These are, math whizzes, and they don't understand basic, math, it seems like. All right. So one of the other things he didn't repeat is the whole thing. 1.3 million illegals, undocumented immigrants are receiving Social Security and Medicare and all the rest of the stuff. That was another thing that hit, DOGE and Elon Musk. And so the CEO for Tesla came in there and said that is 100% incorrect. So there's 1.3 million non-citizens, but these are green card holders, the spouses of U.S. citizens that just have green card. They're waiting for their citizenship or whatever the case might be, but they paid into the system. They're entitled to Medicare. They paid into Social Security. They're in this country legally, and they just happen to have Social Security, Medicare. Those are not incorrect payments. They paid for those, and they're in the country legally. Not people that are not in the country legally do not get Medicare or Social Security. How do I know? Because I've taken those applications hundreds of thousands of times. And you have to have proof that you're in this country legally, U.S. citizenship, born in the country, and all the rest of it. So, all right. So that's good that he didn't repeat these falsehoods. So hopefully he can focus on the right thing. And we all hope he succeeds. It seems like he's kind of going down the correct road. Just need to get those DOGE guys on board correctly and make sure they pass their FBI background checks, make sure they have the correct laptops. And if they're going to help with the agency, or they're going to help, make it better, then more power to them. But it has to be done correctly. It can't be done in the middle of the night in suspicious circumstances. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into your questions and comments. So if you have any questions or comments on any of that, make sure you put them in the chat there. If you're watching this on a recording later, make sure you subscribe. I do a live Q&A, 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time, pretty much every day, where I talk about a topic of the day, and then I answer a whole bunch of questions about all things Social Security, retirement, Medicare, Medicaid, and all the rest. Oh, speaking of Medicaid, I just finished my new section on my website, which is, let me pop this up here, mygovexpert.com, new website. And so you can go in there and find about retirement, calculate your retirement age, calculate how much your benefits are, check out Medicare, survivor benefits, family benefits. But this is a brand new section that was just added today on Medicaid. I did a video on Medicaid where there's going to be millions of people kicked off of Medicaid, probably more than that when they increase they double the amount of recertifications, and then I talked about all this yesterday. Watch my video I did yesterday on this. But anyway, so this is the Medicaid website. It talks about how to get it, how to keep it, and I'm going to continue to update this once the big, beautiful bill comes in there, HR 1. And if it does cut back Medicaid, let's make sure your loved one's Medicaid stays. There are going to be a lot of unfortunate collateral damage, or a lot of people that are entitled to those Medicaid benefits to get their prescriptions, to get their health care, are still going to lose it, even if they're entitled to it, because of the bureaucracy, because of paperwork, because of staffing and Medicaid offices throughout the country. So we're going to keep up on that to make sure people get what they need. Okay. All right, let's get into this. Judy, trying to survive on $1,100 a month, it's not working out for everyone. We all need an increase in the income. I agree 100%. On the description, I'm going to be adding this. I'm coming up with more sections on my website, as you can see, coming soon. Oh, I can't see that. Let me jump into the home page there. And so coming soon, I'm adding a section on living on Social Security alone. But in my description on my YouTube channel, you can see there is a link. It says living on Social Security alone. Click on that. It's a YouTube video I've done several times, but click on that link, and it goes through about 50 different programs that might help you out. Hopefully, Judy, you are receiving Medicaid. If all you have is $1,100, you're getting Medicaid to help you with some of your medical expenses. If you have Medicare as well, you can get Medicaid and Medicare. That is called, let me come down here. That is called a dual eligible. So what is dual eligibility? And there's different categories of dual eligibility. There's QMB and SlimB and QI and all of those. So that kind of gives you an idea of all of the different categories of Medicaid. So hopefully you're receiving that. Hopefully you're also part of the Medicare Savings Program, where they're paying for your Part B, the $185. I'm afraid a lot of people are going to be downgraded in their Medicaid, and hopefully that big beautiful bill, HR1, doesn't kick a lot of people off that, and then their Social Security checks are going to be reduced. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Another question here: how can we find out how much Social Security we will be bringing home in 2 years retiring early? Go into your mysocialsecurity.gov website, ssa.gov, set up a My Social Security account. I know it's difficult to set up, but you should definitely set one up to check your earnings record and everything. But in there, it'll tell you your PIA, your primary insurance amount. And it'll also tell you, okay, and if you wait until 62, how much? If you wait till 65, how much? We wait till 67, how much? So definitely do that. And the most important thing is to check your earnings record. That is the most important thing, because that's how they determine how much you're going to make for the rest of your life, is based on how much you actually paid into Social Security. So, Bella, welcome everyone. Hey, Bella, how you doing today? Let's see. Jill, yes, you do need an increase unless you got a government place like my friend, $35 a month. Yeah, Section 8 housing. I definitely need to add a section on Section 8 housing. If anybody knows any specialists out there on Section 8, I worked for Social Security for a few decades. Before that, I worked for the Department of Social Services doing Medicaid and food stamps and stuff, TANF. But I never worked for Section 8. So if anybody knows an expert on Section 8 housing, please tell them to contact me, and we can have them join us and give people the scoop on Section 8 housing, how to apply, how to work the system, and if you really need it, work that bureaucracy. Why is everyone suddenly gasping and surprised? Every one of us was told what this administration planned to do. This is exactly why the term FAFO became so popular. Yeah, it was right there in black and white, wasn't it? So. Let's see. Get some other questions. Pink Owl, how you doing? Hello, everyone. Good to see you this evening. Hello, how y'all doing? Let's see. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank you again, Dr. Ed, for your help with my benefits. You're the best. Thank you. All right. This clown had to Google Social Security. He knows nothing about it. We're in deep trouble. Yeah. If you're in the business world all those years, then I don't think he had to Google Social Security. He had to Google what the Social Security Commissioner, because a lot of people, the Social Security Commissioner cannot make policy changes. They cannot say, okay, we're going to give money to these people, and these people, we're going to change the eligibility requirements. They can't do that. They can only do what Congress tells them to do. So, people say, well, why doesn't Social Security, improve customer service and stuff? Well, why don't they improve, the technology and stuff? Well, they've been asking, Social Security has been asking Congress for decades, we need to update our computer system. And Congress has continually said no. I would argue because they didn't want the Social Security computer system to be updated. They don't want Social Security to be efficient. They want Social Security to fail and frankly piss people off. And that way you'll get mad and say, you know what, forget about it. Just give it to Wall Street. So that was their intention. And if you disagree with me, you can look at my YouTube description, and in the description, and there's a playbook that was written in the 1980s that lays out exactly that. And they're going by the playbook, perfectly. Okay, let's see. This guy is a Wall Street guy, probably put into privatized Social Security. I certainly hope not, but it's our responsibility to, slap up on the hand and make sure that doesn't happen. So reach out to your politicians and say, hey, don't even think about it, because, Medicare has already been privatized. Medicare Advantage, that's privatized Medicare. When you get Medicare in original A and B, that's original Medicare, you have two options. You can get a Medicare supplement plan where you keep original Medicare, and then the supplement just fills in the gaps, like the 20% gap for Part B that you have to pay. but you still have original Medicare. If you get a Medicare Advantage plan, you're essentially giving up original Medicare. You still have to pay the Part B premium because that goes to the Medicare Advantage company. But you have to get all your health care through a Medicare Advantage. So that's essentially privatized Medicare. So not a lot of people are happy with that. Prior authorizations, limited networks. You got to ask permission to do this, that, and the other. Do we want the same thing? Do we want a Social Security Advantage plan? So where we have to go to Wall Street and says, hey, we need this money because we're disabled. We need this money because we lost a spouse, and they determine whether we get it or not. If you're for that, reach out to your politicians and tell them you're for it. If you're not, reach out to your politicians and tell them not so much. This really shows the brainless leaders in our administration. Not a one can do their job like how one that really knows the job and how to do it fair. Yeah. And this is, I try and I'm political, but I'm not partisan. Political is basically when, where resources should go. Everybody's political in this sense. Well, no, I think resources should go here rather than here. Partisan is where you say, well, this political party, I don't care what they say, I'm for them 100%. That's kind of partisan. So I'm political. Both parties, packs on both of their houses, I guess, that both parties have kind of failed us. One party said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna fix Social Security before the cuts start happening," and the other one said, "No, we don't like it at all, and we want to privatize it," regardless of whatever philosophical arguments either party had. It doesn't matter. They still haven't fixed it. The trust fund is still going to run out in 2034 or so. And the Social Security Trustees report should be coming out here pretty soon. It usually comes out in May or June. So the Social Security Trustees report is going to come out soon, and we'll see if those cuts happen any quicker. So you choose. Do we want zero cuts in a few years? If you want zero cuts, then reach out to your politicians and tell them that we need to fix Social Security once the trust fund runs out. And, the trust fund wasn't stolen. Yeah, that's a trick the politicians use to kind of, distract us. So, all right. And neither party has fixed it. So, Katrina, when I sell my house, will the profit affect my SSDI? No, it will not. And if I use the profit to purchase another home, does that affect SSDI? No, it does not. Or Social Security, should I switch to that? No, because unless the only way it would affect your SSDI, your Social Security Disability Insurance, is if you're a realtor and that is your job to buy and sell homes, then that's a business and you're working. But if you're just selling your own primary home or a secondary home or something like that, no, it doesn't affect SSDI at all. So if you receive an SSI, the welfare-based program, then yes. But SSDI, no. It might affect your Part B premium, your Medicare Part B premium. That is called IRMA. And if you go onto my website, click under Medicare there and click under IRMA, and it'll tell you about IRMA and all of the details on that. And there's an exclusion as well. So on that. All right, let's see here. Did Biden increase Social Security checks back in 2022? No, not really. I think there was a temporary hold on paying FICA taxes for a year or so during the whole pandemic and everything, but no, a president can't do that. Congress can do it, and then the president can sign off if they do something like that. I mean, the COLA happened during that time, and maybe you're thinking of the 8.7% COLA that happened, but that has nothing to do with the president. The presidents always take, I gave you an 8.7% COLA. Ain't I awesome? No, you're not awesome, because it has nothing to do with it. You had no decision whatsoever on what to do with the COLA. And again, if you want full details on the COLA, how it's calculated, how it should be calculated, you can check out my website, and it's got quite a bit on COLA, how it should be calculated, and all the rest of it. But yeah, politicians have nothing to do with that. So let's see. Elon is mad at Trump for the big, beautiful bill stuff. Yeah, that he's not making enough cuts and everything. But, hey, Elon was in charge of all the cuts, and, he was looking at, the big place he was going to find, trillions of dollars of cuts with Social Security, where he said is a Ponzi scheme, the greatest fraud in U.S. history. And then he went in there and with all this misinformation, and he was looking at the wrong places. And then he realized, oh, I didn't find, yeah, it's okay. Bye. I'll go back to Texas and shoot off some rockets. Um, you just had to call me, Elon. I'll tell you where the fraud is, but it's not that sexy, trillion billion dollars of fraud. It's just, people receiving disability benefits that are not entitled to them. It's people receiving SSI that, it's so, yeah, it's bureaucracy is boring. He was looking for sexy. Yeah, bureaucracy is boring. So I have SSDI for 6 months now, but still no back pay. What to do? Yeah, if your SSDI was approved, remember when you're approved for SSDI, you have a 5-month waiting period. So you don't get benefits for the first 5 months. So if you're at your 6 month, you should get, if you're in that 5-month waiting period, you should get your check this month or the next month. But reach out to Social Security and say, hey, the reason I haven't got a check is because I'm in my 5-month waiting period. So definitely check that out. Vaughn, my grandchild, I guess, has been on SSDI since she was a child. She had lawsuit, settlement, and trust for her until 21, which she just attained. Will Social Security penalize her? So you wrote down there SDI, so Social Security Disability Insurance. So any money, you can be a billionaire and receive Social Security Disability Insurance. SSI is a whole different thing. But since you wrote down SDI, nope, doesn't affect her whatsoever. So she's good. But she's receiving SDI as a child. She needs to switch to a DAC, a disabled adult child. They should have already done that. When you're receiving CDB, child disability benefits, and then when you reach 18, they have to change it. They have to reevaluate it based on adult parameters. So they switch you from CDB, child disability benefits, to disabled adult child benefits, DAC benefits. But she's 21. They should have already done that. But yeah, in terms of any type of settlement, if she wins the lottery, no effect whatsoever. So, but reach out to them and confirm that she's receiving these disabled adult child benefits, and you receive those from a parent's record. So if you go into my website, the disability part, you can see the disability part, continue reviews. Oh, on the family. Okay, it's on the family section here. So child benefits. So it's got all the child benefits if you're disabled before the age of 22 and all the rest of it. So check that out. But yeah, confirm they switched her to disabled adult child benefits if it's from a parent's record. Let's see. Bev, what's up, Bev? I heard news saying the cutting SSI because there are people on it that can work and a lot of illegal people. Yeah, there's no illegal people on SSI because they're illegal, right? So yeah, that's another thing politicians use to distract us. Well, we're going to go in there and save Social Security. We'll save billions of dollars by getting people that are illegal off Social Security rolls, and therefore everything will be good. And so don't worry about the trust fund. And then you ask them a year later and they say, well, how many illegals did you find on SSI or SSDI or retirement? Well, none. And you've wasted that year. And that's the intent, is to waste that time to shut you up. So don't shut up. So the right people that are honest shouldn't have any issues. You'd think. So it's the same people that say say, yeah, the government, the bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff is terrible and it's a nightmare. It's too complicated and, staffing is so low, people lose documents. So you can't have it both ways. So yeah, if you do everything right, everything is perfect. And the agency, whether it's Medicaid or Medicare or IRS or Social Security, will do everything perfectly because they have all the staff to do everything perfectly and they won't lose your paperwork. Yeah, no, not so much. That's, again, look at the playbook written in the 1980s. I do not want to talk to AI or some recording. I want a live representative. Those automated systems stress me out. Yes, a lot of people, they don't want to do stuff over the phone. They want to do stuff face to face. This is something that, filing for retirement or survivor benefits, they, waited for decades and decades and decades. And if Social Security can't, reserve 30 minutes of time to talk to somebody directly to make sure they're getting all their benefits, the AI, I've done some AI searches on Social Security. I say, hey, this, that, and the other, and AI comes back with an answer that's 80% correct. And then because I know the system, I say, well, what about this? And the AI comes back, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry. So if people go out there, that this is another fear that people are going to, not consult with someone, not come in here and live, ask a question, not check out my website. All the website stuff is vetted. But they're going to ask AI, and AI is going to give them an answer, and it might not be correct, and they're going to lose money. So where can I listen to this guy? Are you talking about the commissioner? The actual audio is out there. The article I used was Federal News Network. It's the place that looks like they broke that story about that secret recording. So, and it's interesting that he knew that it was going to be made public. So, is there any age cap on receiving Social Security? Nope. I mean, a few years ago, they, if you're 116 years old, then, they stop your benefits. Well, one of the things we got, again, these, 20 million zombies over 120 years old. There are certain things, there's all the offices, in my office as well, we had all offices throughout the country have this called the Centenarian Project. And what it is when someone reaches the 100 years old, I used to print off, like all the other district managers of all the offices, a little certificate. And it says, congratulations, Kathy, on reaching 100 years old. And we used to have one of our people, Ronnie. Hey, Ronnie, who's retired now. He used to go out, awesome guy, sweetest guy you'll ever know. He used to go out to all these people and say, hey, congratulations for reaching 100 years old. Here's a certificate from the Social Security Administration. How you doing? Everything good and stuff like that. So it met two purposes. I think it was a nice, compassionate, nice, friendly thing to do from your local Social Security office. Congratulations on 100th birthday. But the kind of the ulterior motive to make sure that person was still out there, because Ronnie would have to check their ID and all that kind of stuff, make sure they're okay. So that has happened for years and years and years and years. So the whole 20 million zombies was always just BS, an attempt to trick people, to destroy the agency. And a lot of people, bought it. And I'm still getting comments on my YouTube channel today. It's, well, did you hear about these 20 million zombies receiving? No, come on. Yeah. So people still buy it. I started receiving Social Security at 62 due to a disability. My wife is still working. I was told that I could get something from my wife's Social Security and it would not affect her Social Security. Yes, if you're entitled to benefits on that person's record, that is entitled, you're married, or if you're a divorce type situation, 10 years or longer marriage. And also the benefit amount. Your benefit amount has to be less than half of their benefit amount, their full benefit amount. And it won't affect their benefits. No, it will not affect their benefits. But you said your wife is still working. So she has to file for benefits on her own record in order for you to file for spouse benefits on her record. So if she's still working, she's not receiving benefits, then you cannot receive benefits on her record. So she has to start. So as soon as she starts her benefits, and because she's working, she's limited to the amount of money she can make. And there is another thing that a lot of people mess up on, is they don't realize there's a monthly earnings limit as well. So you can check out my website, and there's a nice little button there, when to start your benefits in terms of, how much your benefits are going to be, but also working, calculate your earnings impact on your benefits. And it'll tell you what's counted and, when you can start your benefits, when she can start her benefits, because as soon as she starts hers, then you can start hers. I will call BS on the illegals not getting tons of free money stuff. Okay, well, free money stuff, that's pretty vague. So, yeah. But Are they getting Social Security retirement benefits? No. Are they getting disability benefits? No. Are they getting survivor benefits? No. Are they getting Medicare? No. Are they getting Medicaid? No. Do some states provide health insurance to people that are in the country undocumented? Yes, but not from Medicaid money. So, and I gave the actual federal codes yesterday in the video I did. So there's that. The thing I hate about automated phone trees or AI is that I rarely have an issue they accounted for. Yes, same thing. Yeah, I use Navy Federal Credit Union, and they have the craziest thing, and it never. Yeah, I don't know. It's usually something I need to talk to a knowledgeable person to figure things out. The trick is, one trick I heard is you just start yelling in the phone, and that I guess that they notice you're angry, or you press 0000. You just keep pressing 0, and sometimes you can bypass that. So. You mentioned you have to be a citizen to get Social Security. That's why my husband thought also he became a citizen back in 96, but people he knows, even Mexico, are receiving their checks. No, you don't have to be a citizen. My father was a Canadian citizen. He became a U.S. citizen. The immigration before he passed away, he wanted to finally be an American citizen. He was a truck driver, teamster for decades and decades in America, but he finally got around to becoming a U.S. citizen on his deathbed. And they were super awesome. They came out and he raised his right hand, just before he passed away, and finally became an American citizen. But he was receiving Social Security. He had a green card and everything. So you don't have to be a U.S. citizen, but you do have to be in the country legally. So I lose my Medicaid, I will not be able to walk or let alone be able to move. Yes. So make sure you reach out to your politician, make sure you reach out to your governor, because, the state governments they're the ones that are going to feel the brunt of this impact of these billions of dollars of cuts. And they're going to have to either raise taxes, or they're going to cut Medicaid, reduce your Medicaid. And there's all kinds of other crazy stuff that's part of this. So watch the video I did yesterday on that, and reach out to your politician and say, no, this shouldn't happen. Again, people are saying, oh, it's only going after illegals. Again, illegals do not receive Medicaid. Look at the video I did yesterday. I give this specific law. There's 2 laws that So again, that is just a distraction. If you say fraud, waste, and abuse are illegals, then, the government, politicians think you can do anything. So I think I have to use it myself. Fraud, waste, and abuse, I need hair. So I can get it now because I said fraud, waste, and abuse. You can do anything if you say fraud, waste, and abuse. So my sister just found out after death of her 100% SC vet passed away 2020. They were married in 2009. He passed away 3.5 years ago. Let's see. Found out after. Okay, so possibly survivor benefits here. Not exactly. If you were married to someone for 10 years or longer, or you were still married but estranged or whatever, then Social Security. If you didn't have an actual divorce, then Social Security essentially considers you still married. But yeah, if she is entitled, I would definitely have her call Social Security and give her that person's name, Social Security number if you have it. If you don't, just the name, date of birth, age, where they were born, and Social Security can find it, and she can see if there's any more benefits on his record for her. So. Ed, do you really believe a Wall Street guy, now the chief at Social Security under this administration, isn't going to find ways to get to the trust fund? Do you really believe that? I'm trying to stay positive, Kelly. Until I'm proven otherwise, I always give people the benefit of the doubt. So what he talked about in secret, I kind of liked. He didn't say anything terribly bad. He wants to make it better, and he wants to leave a legacy that's improved it, yada yada yada. So he's wearing the efficiency hat. Once he switches on the other hat, then yeah, I'm right there with you. So I'm 61 and on disability, Medicare Advantage plan, and I'm suddenly receiving frequent calls from an employment agency. What's going on? Am I about to lose my Medicare plan? Yeah, Allsup. Allsup is, that's also a big disability law firm. So Wow. I wonder if ALSUP is branched out, and now people on disability, they're doing employment type stuff. I have to check that out. That's the first time I've seen that. But no, yeah, a private agency, yeah, that's employment agency, no relevance whatsoever. If you're in terms of disability, they can't do anything in terms of disability. Only Social Security can do anything with your disability. But in terms of your Medicare plan, I know ALSUP is also, getting into the Medicare space. But no, you can't, for most people, they can't change their Medicare Advantage plan until October 15th anyway. So even if, some company says, hey, we've got a better deal for you, they can't switch you unless you move, or you're losing Medicaid, or you're gaining Medicaid, or there's some other situations, or your Medicare Advantage has left your area, or whatever the case may be. But if you want to just check, you can call chapter, or the person that helped you out signed you up, and say, hey, is my Medicare Advantage still good until December 31st? Because they all go away December 31st. Medicare Advantage plans are only good for 1 year, period. And, they automatically renew if you don't do anything, but everything under the hood is fair game for change. So people say, I've had the same plan for years. And so they buy a Corvette 3 years ago, Medicare Advantage plan, and then when they actually got sick and want to go drive it, turns into a 1973 Pinto. I'm like, wait a second, I signed up for a Corvette. Yeah, but it's been changed 3 times. So, sorry, Pinto lovers out there. So I'll go with a Corvair, unsafe at any speed. Be careful making a choice to report someone you think are illegal getting benefits. Can cause them big problems, and you could be wrong. How would you feel if someone turned you in wrongly? Yes. I got a YouTube comment yesterday that says, yeah, this cashier at the local supermarket, gets illegals every time. I'm like, wow, in what part of the country are supermarket cashiers checking people passports and birth certificates and legal papers? And sounds like something that happened in the 1930s in a particular country. Can I see your papers? Yeah, I've never been to a Walmart or a supermarket that before the checkout, oh, I need your credit card and I need your legal papers. Yeah. So yeah, those internet myths. There won't be any more Section 8 vouchers given out in my county, which should have been opened in 2025. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's affordable housing. That's one of the big things. I think I'm not a specialist on the housing or Section 8 and stuff like that, but a lot of housing was taken out of the market when everybody wanted to switch over to Airbnbs and start up party homes and stuff. But those have kind of diminished. So I think the market has gone, a little bit better. But then there's those multinational corporations that go in there and buy, thousands of homes, which brought the prices up again. Yeah. So it's affordable housing is a big, big issue in this country. But I do know one thing on Section 8 housing, that a lot of those places have kind of pocket listings where they have, a few listings that are not listed openly, but, they go for, parents with children, single parents with children, elderly disabled, veterans and stuff like that. So even though it's not on the list, you look on the list and, oh yeah, there's nothing available. Call up every now and then, particularly at the end of the quarter, the end of, March 31st, September 30th and stuff like that. And towards the end of those quarters, because sometimes they get some extra funding and they need to spend the extra funding. And, a listing might pop up. So it doesn't hurt. Let's see. The big, beautiful bill is the right's version of the left's Build Back Better. None of this benefits us, but only the elites in charge. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like that. The proof's in the pudding. There's just so many people out there, suffering. So and the richest country in the world. So I appreciate your level-headed info. Please opine on what happens if they succeed in killing the US dollar. Wow. Yeah. That's been, the Bitcoin, and, China's been trying to go in there, and, they start taking off, because people say the trust fund, the 2.6 trillion in the trust fund. They say it's all fake money and stuff. It's in treasury bonds, treasury securities, and that's all fake. It's just borrowed. Well, every country in the world thinks U.S. Treasury bonds are the safest investment in the world. That's why Japan buys them, and Canada buys them, and Luxembourg buys them, and Warren Buffett buys them, and your 401k buys them, and so everybody in the world thinks Treasury securities are the safest in the world, and they are. But one of the things is because the dollar, is the world currency, and if it decides not to be the world currency, if other countries join together and decide, hey, the U.S. is just too unstable, and we don't know what the U.S. is going to do from one day to another, so we need to hedge our bets and move out of the U.S. dollar. Then, it's not going to be good. So they are surprised because many people who voted for Trump believed his words. Trump said, if a bill crosses my desk that cut Medicaid or Medicare, I will veto it. It's, again, it's in Medicaid. Yeah, there are cuts in there. There are House cuts. A lot of senators, it's in the Senate now, and they're debating it. And a lot of senators want more cuts to Medicaid. And there are no cuts to Medicare in the bill, but there doesn't have to be. Because the bill, if it's passed into law, creates a large deficit. And when there's a deficit, something is passed like that, and there's a deficit, there's a law that goes into effect called the pay-as-you-go law, starting in 2010. And the pay-go law says if you pass something that has a deficit in it, you automatically have to offset it somewhere else. And Social Security is exempt from that. Veterans Affairs are exempt for that. The next big thing is Medicare. So if this law passes, it's signed by the president, then Medicare cuts happen automatically. And guess who's in charge of that? The Office of Management of Budget, Russell Vought, who wrote many sections of Project 2025. So, he's chomping at the bit to get that law passed. Who is this new guy? I thought Dr. Oz was running the show. We need experienced people running the show. Smash the cap. No word from Oz. Yeah, Dr. Oz runs CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is under RFK Jr.'s Health and Human Services. But yeah, the Frank Bisognano runs Social Security. He is the commissioner. So. Deborah, a non-citizen married to a citizen who then lives in another country could be receiving Social Security. That's what I think might be happening. Well, yeah, if that there is a totalization agreement which allows that, particularly like survivor benefits. If you marry someone and they come from another country and then they return to that country, then they can conceivably get survivor benefits because that's what you paid for as a citizen, or in this, you paid into it. So. But that really depends on the country with the totalization agreement. So Elon's goal was to cut $2 trillion from anywhere. I'm sure it's only a coincidence, but the estimate of his hallowed manor Mars mission is also $2 trillion. No appearance of self-dealing here to see. The didn't get even close to $2 trillion. Then he, immediately backtracked and said $1 trillion, and then it turns out to be $150 billion, but most of it was not fraud, waste, and abuse. It was just programs they didn't like. So how much of our drugs we need come from China? Hope tariffs don't mess that prices up. Yes, not necessarily the drugs, but the ingredients for those drugs. A lot of it comes from China. Absolutely. So, and that's going to, the tariffs are definitely going to increase that. I think there was an exception for, because Apple and, they were there at the inauguration. So, those places get exceptions. So I think there was an exception. It's hard to tell. It changes every day. The whole tariff thing. Yeah. Can I collect Social Security survivor benefits from my ex-wife? I am 70 on Social Security, but remarried in the Philippines. I lived with my ex over 10 years in the States. Okay, so survivor benefits, if you're remarried, that's fine if you remarried after the age of 60 years old. So if you remarried after 60 and you're entitled to those survivor benefits, your ex passed away, but her benefits have to be higher than your current benefits. So, and you're because you're 70 years old. So I would call Social Security, but it's based on her work. So it depends whether she worked more than you or longer or whatever the case may be. If you're not 100% sure, call Social Security and they'll tell you what her benefit amount is, because it could increase. Even if, let's say, you say, okay, yeah, me and her worked exactly the same amount. So your benefit amount would be the same. Your PIA would be the same. Your primary insurance amount, the amount at your full retirement age would be the same, but maybe your ex waited until 70 to get those delayed retirement credits, the extra 8% every year. So even though you worked exactly the same amount, her benefit amount could be 24% higher than yours. So if you're not 100% sure, call Social Security and say, hey, can I get any survivor benefits? How's the numbers look? And if there's numbers there, if the numbers work, then they'll set you up an appointment. And it's a nightmare. The federal benefits unit in Asia is in Manila, Philippines, but yeah, there's basically only one person there that handles all of Asia. So, Karen, I am disabled and was on Social Security disability, but when I turned 65, they put me on Social Security. Is this right? Yep, happens to everybody. Nobody after their full retirement age is on disability. Once you hit your full retirement age, so if your full retirement age was 65, then at 65, you're no longer on disability. You're on regular Social Security retirement benefits. That happens to everybody. We get people coming in all the time saying, I'm 70 years old and I'm receiving disability. Well, not from Social Security, you're not. You're receiving retirement benefits now, which is good, because you no longer have any work limitations. So if you're able to work, want to work, you can work, no issues whatsoever. And there's no more CDRs, the continuing disability reviews. So let's see here. Someone says, Social Security messed me up the time I work now. I hope the employees at Goodwill can help. Make sure you check out my video. I'm going to put my website on there, but make sure you check out my video. It's on my YouTube description, Living on Social Security Alone. And hopefully there's something else in there that will help you out. Another question, can you switch back and forth from a Medicare Advantage plan to a Medicare supplement plan? Yes, you can. It depends on your state and it depends on your health. So if you're in a Medicare Advantage plan, but one of the things in a Medicare Advantage plan, if you're not moving or something like that, you're just in the same place and there's no other changes, you can't get out of that Medicare Advantage plan until the end of the year. And at that time, then yes, you can get into a Medicare supplement plan, but it depends on your state. You might go through health underwriting. And if you're in a Medicare supplement plan, here's what a lot of people unfortunately have to do is if they're in a Medicare supplement plan and they can no longer afford the Medicare supplement plan because of the monthly premium, then a lot of people are switching over to to a Medicare Advantage plan. So if you can't afford it, you can't afford it, and you got to do what you got to do. But just make sure when you do the Medicare Advantage, you check your prescriptions, you check your physicians, you check the prices, the 3Ps. And you can reach out to Chapter there and they can help you 100% for free and see if you're in the right plan. And give them a call. The annual enrollment period is coming up sooner than we think. And the new plans come out in October for January for 2026. So you can reach out to a Chapter and say, hey, put me on the list. How are folks getting Social Security in 3 days? Here, an appointment just on the phone has to be booked months in advance because they are full. Also, if you do the application online, it's a month. Yeah. If you have it's called a TARI case, a disability, you're filing for disability, and it's a TARI, which is a terminal illness, wounded warrior type situations, particularly TARI case. Yeah, those are approved. I've had TARI cases, fortunately, unfortunately, that people have come in the morning. I've taken their disability application. I sent everything up. And by the end of the day, they're approved. So, but that's great. But the reason they're approved is terminal illness, and yeah, so it's one of those bittersweet things. But yeah, some people are. It depends on the office as well. That's one thing the Commissioner of Social Security can do. Some kind of some smoothing throughout the workload and mobility. There are some offices throughout the country, rural areas that are not as underwater as much as other areas, so it needs to be smoothed out a little bit. So. Let's see. When disabled adult child goes on DAC, does some back pay goes to a credit? Um, yeah, not sure. Yeah, if you get if you are on SSI, then yeah, there's your disabled adult child benefits pays off some of the SSI for back pay. But yeah, not sure what you mean by goes to a credit. If you're in, it's not a well, it's an underpayment. Maybe that's what you're talking about. If anything on disability or disabled adult child benefits, disabled widows benefits, or whatever the case may be, if they approve your disability and they say, yeah, it took us 6 months to approve your disability, but your disability started last year, and so we'll pay you that pay going back for the year. Yes, that does happen. So if that's what you mean by credit, then yes. Let's see here. Some Trumpsters still think people 120 years old are getting Social Security checks. Yeah. I still get every single day comments that people say that, well, if they stopped giving, yeah. So again, they just got tricked by their politicians and to distract you. And yeah, on the other hand, Medicare apps go through quickly and they bill you for 4 months already pretty quickly. Well, if you are already on Social Security benefits and you reach 65, then your Medicare starts automatically. You don't have to do anything. So yeah, that happens quickly because it's automatic. If you actually need to file for Medicare at 65 because you're not receiving benefits or you recently stopped work, yeah, those are still taking forever, unfortunately. And that's the difficult part because, if you know that you're going to stop working 3 months ahead of the game, then you can go ahead and get this process started so you don't lose health insurance. But if for some reason what I see is people losing, getting mad and getting fired or quitting or their company closes down and all of a sudden, it's the end of the month and they're going to lose their health insurance in 2 or 3 weeks. Those people, yeah, are because of everything is slowed down. Unfortunately, their Medicare applications are delayed and they can't go see their doctor, can't get their prescriptions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's bad. And again, you can reach out to chapter and they can maybe help you if that happens to you, because you not only have to sign up for Part A and Part B, you have to figure out what you want to cover those gaps, the supplement, Medicare Advantage, and all the rest of it. And if that happens, you need to do everything in one fell swoop, and you can reach out to them and they can kind of give you some insider tips and tricks on how to expedite it. And then you can come back here and I can give you other insider tips and tricks on how to expedite it. Okay, I've got tons of questions and comments, but we're over an hour, so I can't get to them all. I apologize. I will be back again tomorrow. I'm actually going to take a couple of days off next week. Go figure. Wife says I have to take a vacation for a couple of days, so but I will be back again tomorrow and talk about something else. Y'all have an awesome night, and please take care of each other. Take care.